with Scott Allen.
Hello, I am your host, Scott Allen, and this is Phronesis, Practical Wisdom for Leaders. If the topic is leadership, I'm in. I've spent more than 20 years in the field teaching, learning, writing, and questioning. When I'm not working on Phronesis, I travel, delivering keynotes, working with individuals and teams, and helping people from organizations across industries become better leaders. Want to learn more? Visit me at scottjallen.net. Phronesis offers a smart, fast-paced discussion about all things leadership. We explore relevant topics and incorporate practical tips to help you make a difference in how you lead and live. Listen Notes lists Phronesis in the top 3% of podcasts worldwide. Phronesis is the official podcast of the International Leadership Association. ILA brings together those who teach, study, and develop leadership, advancing leadership knowledge and practice for a better world. Learn more at ila-net.org. Finally, if you enjoy Phronesis, please subscribe to stay current on our weekly episodes. If you find an episode that resonates, please share it with your colleagues and friends. And if you want more content, subscribe to my newsletter, The Leader's Edge. The link is in the show notes. As always, thanks for listening. And now, here's today's show.
Okay, everyone, welcome to Phronesis. Thanks for checking in. Today, I have Dr. Sara Saeed Khurram, and she is the co-founder and chief executive officer of Sehat Kahani. And she works on improving basic healthcare in communities through a spectrum of services focused on primary healthcare consultation, health awareness, and health counseling. Dr. Sara Saeed recently won the AppTech Young Entrepreneurs Award for her work with Sehat Kahani, and her work was also featured in a BBC documentary. She has won a number of awards such as the CRDF Global, Ashoka Changemakers, ISIF Asia, the Unilever Sustainable Living Young Entrepreneurs Award, and the Unicef-Global Goal Campaigner Award 2016 for her role formerly with doctHERs. And I'm going to spell that. It's doct and then HERS, H-E-R-S for listeners. She has been part of a well-known accelerator in Pakistan, Invest2 Innovate. She is also part of a regional Acumen fellowship cohort in 2016. Dr. Sara has been born and bred in Karachi. She has done her MBBS from Dow University of Health Sciences, and she is a graduate of the Health Policy Management Program at the Aga Khan University of Health Sciences. Dr. Sara enjoys travel, music, and she spends a lot of time with her two daughters who are 8 and 3. She has an incredible TED Talk, which you will find a link to in the show notes. She's referred to herself before as a doctorpreneur, which I love. I had not heard that terminology before. And she's very, very interested in health tech. Dr. Sara, thank you so much for being with us today. What do listeners need to know more about you?
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me here. So I come from a traditional middle-class family in Pakistan. I'm the youngest of 2 brothers. I became a doctor at 24 and I got married at 24. I had my first daughter when I was 26 and the second one when I was 31. So I'm a mother of 2 girls. I'm a person who doesn't like things the way they're spelled out for someone. So I like to make my own way. I'm a problem solver. I like problems. I like to solve them. I'm a strategy and an operations person. So I like making strategies and implement them. I also am a person who would take feedback and accept failure when it is there. And my team and my colleagues and my peers and my friends, they call me kind of a perfectionist because I like doing things in a particular way and I like making sure that they're done 100% to perfection. And I think at the end, I'm someone who really feels that the way healthcare is given in Pakistan, it's a big challenge. And I do believe that technology has to play a big role in fixing the healthcare issues in Pakistan. And that's what I've committed my life to, creating solutions in primary healthcare through technology and using an underutilized network of female doctors.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your passion. In the TED Talk, you cite some statistics which were pretty staggering. Talk about some of those statistics and share those with listeners, and so they have some context and some framing. And then maybe let's talk about some of the early days of your work and how you work to solve.
So, Scott, I mentioned I was born in a very traditional middle class family in Pakistan, and that has been a very relevant part of what I do today. Because in Pakistani middle class families, their parents save up for their children education. If they have a daughter, you will see 80 to 90% of times they would want their daughter to become a doctor. That has a huge relevance in Pakistan. So Pakistan is primarily a patriarchal society. Women are not, they're not allowed to work, or it's looked upon when they work because it kind of precedes the cultural boundary that we have. So women generally are homemakers and don't work in the major part of our society. When I was growing up and I was the youngest of two brothers, at the age of 5, my parents told me that you have to become a doctor because they thought that if I do become a doctor, I'll be socially respectable. I'll be joining a noble profession, which everyone around me would like. Society would put me on a higher social pedestal. And at the end of it, I would get a better hand in marriage. Doctors in Pakistan, female doctors, couple it with being tall and pretty and fair, they get the best hand in marriages. They are well seeked out and sought after by all the men and the men mothers. And majority of the time, we have arranged marriages. So, it's fixed by the family. So with this thought and, with this history, I went into medical college. And getting into medical college is very hard. You have to study a lot, 8-9 years of your life to get into a medical school in Pakistan.
Wow.
And I went to a medical school. I saw that my class was 90% female and 10% men.
Huh.
And 40 of those women, my peer students, had come in with the same thought, with their parents asking them to become a doctor, or they wanted to become a doctor because A, it's a noble profession, but B, somewhere it gets you a better hand in marriage. And as we started passing through medical years, which is 6 years, I saw that the girls who were taking positions and who were very ambitious, that they have to serve the community, serve the society, they started getting married, they started having children, and they kind of started to drop off, and their entire vision in life from becoming a doctor became getting that degree, putting it on a wall, and then becoming a homemaker. Sometimes it was forced, and sometimes the decision was taken by the person themselves because of societal pressure. When I graduated, I also became a doctor bride. My parents got me married off 1 year after my graduation and 3 months after my house job, which is the practical part of medicine that you have to do after you graduate. And I had an arranged marriage completely. But I was different because I was very ambitious and I wanted to work. So I enrolled myself straight off in a residency program, and my husband and my in-laws were very supportive. But I got pregnant in the first year and I had to leave because I was doing it in radiology. And to kill time, I started working in a clinic in a small community in my city, Karachi. I did that throughout my pregnancy. I head that project as a project manager as well at that community clinic. And then after my child's birth, 1 month after my child's birth of my first daughter, we moved to Lahore, which is another city in Pakistan, with my husband because he got a promotion in his job. Now, all my life, I had either studied or worked. I came from a working resident to a working doctor into a house which was huge, it had 2 floors, with the 1 month old daughter. And now I had to become a doctor bride in reality because I had to look after the house, I had to look after the baby, I couldn't leave her at anyone. And suddenly I realized that I have to become a doctor bride. That just pushed me very deep into postpartum depression because I had never imagined myself being in a house and not being able to work. And it didn't seem at that time that I would be able to go back. And I used to be lost in my day what to do. But then I started working, I started writing some research papers. I started writing. One day I got a call from the nurse that I used to work with in the clinic in my original city, Karachi. And she said that, we have a lot of patients coming in and we're not able to find a doctor in this community because it was a politically polarized community at that time and not that safe for female doctors to go to. So she said that, what should I do? So I had to kill time. She had a problem. So I said, okay, I'll see patients on call. Just give me a call whenever a patient comes in and I'll see them. And later, because that nurse was also young and she had a laptop, she stuck a camera on top of her laptop. It's a small camera, a webcam. And I started to do video call for patients. And I realized, and I discussed it with the next partner, and we realized that, I'm sitting in one city, the patient is in a community clinic in another city. All it took was a laptop and an internet connection for me to see a patient from one city to another city.
Yes.
How can we mobilize all those female doctors in Pakistan? I'll give you some stats to tell you the gravity of the situation.
Please.
Pakistan is a 220 million population. We're the fifth largest population in the world. We have so many people. Half of our population, 110 million people, never get to see a doctor in their lifetime. That's a stat.
Wow.
Half, that's 110 million people. And for that population, for 220 million people, we have 250,000 doctors. So we have one doctor for 1,000 patients, which is the minimum WHO standard. 80% of our medical workforce is female. And
Wow.
only 40% of this number works. Rest all become doctor brides, sit at home, don't work. And additionally, 15% of doctors go out of the country for better work opportunities. So they immigrate to US, to UK for getting their postgraduate degrees. So in actuality, in Pakistan, there are 90,000 doctors for 220 million people. That means there's half a doctor for 1,000 patients.
Wow.
And even those doctors, 85% work in urban areas, while 63% of Pakistan lives in rural areas. So health in Pakistan is absolutely non-equitable for patients. So while I had seen a lot of doctor brides in my college, when I was doing my house job, I had also seen that a lot of patients came to a major tertiary care hospital in Karachi, and Karachi is the biggest city of Pakistan, just to die comfortably, because their primary care issues had become so worse that when they came into the hospital with those issues, they couldn't be helped. They could just be managed. So I always knew that a patient not having a doctor in their community is very directly linked to a lot of doctors not working in Pakistan. So I started to write about it. I wrote up a startup idea and I pitched it in a grant. And I got a grant. I pitched it in Nepal. It was a competition between 10 countries. I was a doctor. I had never pitched before, no idea of how business works, no idea how business models are made. I just made a pitch and I went there and I pitched it. And I won the first prize and I got a grant. Now, when I got a grant, I realized that, oh my God, someone has trusted me with this pool of money and I need to create a company out of it. So I came back to my parents' city so that my parents can help look after my daughter. And I started working on this idea.
Wow.
And the initial idea was that we find clinics in low-income communities where nurses are sitting, but patients need a doctor. And we train that nurse through a software so that when a patient comes into that clinic, that nurse connects the patient to an online doctor. Now, I was one person and I found a co-founder, and it was just 2 or 3 of us. I had a desk at best, and I started working on this company. And because I had no knowledge of how to run an entrepreneurial venture, I thought that what should I do? Because I had trained to be a doctor. And in my country, doctors have no knowledge of business at all. They're miles away from it. Then I learned, I participated in a lot of accelerator programs. I started seeking out mentors. I made a business plan. I made a financial model. I made sure that, everything is being done in a way that this could be scaled and not just dies off as a one clinic idea. So we started making a chain of clinics, and it was going pretty okay. We were expanding across Pakistan. We got female doctors working with us. My team grew to 8 or 9 people. And then me and my co-founder realized that why do we only have the solution for low-income communities where so many of Pakistani people live in peri-urban, urban areas as well and still can't see a doctor? Why are we only limiting our solution to low-income areas? At this point in 2017-18, mobile phone adoption became big in Pakistan. A lot of apps started coming in. So we created a version of our software that we use in clinics in the form of a mobile application as well. What we had learned very interestingly in our clinics is the biggest high that a patient got, the aha moment that a patient got, was when they traveled to a clinic in their community and they got instantly connected to a doctor. So they didn't have a wait time. They didn't have to travel outside their community. So on our app, and this is something that no other app in Pakistan has, we created an instant consultation option. Anyone who downloads our app today gets connected to a doctor in less than 60 seconds.
Wow.
So there is no waiting time. There are a lot of doctors available, and you can instantly connect to a doctor and get a consultation done. And that's how Sehat Kahani runs today. We have a network of e-clinics for low-income communities, and we have a mobile application for mass users. This mobile application is used by almost 1 million users today. And we also give it to corporations through a B2B channel. And a lot of corporations in Pakistan use it for their employees and their family.
It's an incredible story. And how many lives have you touched in this process, would you estimate at this point? Both physicians that potentially you've brought back into the fold, because I imagine some of the physicians you've partnered with maybe were some of those women who were no longer practicing. Is that accurate?
Yes. So we have a network of 7,000 doctors today.
Wow.
In Sehat Kahani. 90% are women, 10% are men, because we needed male doctors for some of the issues that have a cultural boundary in Pakistan to be addressed. 30% of our total 7,000 workforce is actually female doctors that we brought back and retrained and put back into the system.
Wow.
So very proud about that. And, it has been a phenomenal journey because some of these stories were very grave. We had a doctor who was facing physical and mental abuse at home, and she was suicidal. And, when she came to our network, she slowly regained her self-esteem, her self-respect. She started working on the platform. Then she started working physically as well. So when a doctor loses her ability to work by force or by guilt, it also really impacts your mental health, your emotional health, because you've given so much to become a doctor. So
Yes.
I'm glad that we're able to put some of these doctors back to work. And through our platform, we've till date seen almost 930,000 patients on the platform, including our clinics as well as patients on our mobile application.
So, Sarah, what I'm really interested in, I mean, obviously, incredible work. Obviously, you saw an opportunity. Obviously, if half the population does not have access to healthcare, there's an incredible opportunity there to make a wonderful impact in the world, and you've done that. Talk about the process of influencing others to be engaged in this work, of building that team, mobilizing others to see your vision. Because like you said, writing a business plan, they don't teach that in medical school. And nor do they probably teach, influencing others and really mobilizing large factions of people to see your vision and be excited about your vision. So would you talk a little bit about that process of leading? Because I find it fascinating. It's just such a beautiful, I got goosebumps as you were telling the story. Thank you for the work you do. It's incredible.
Thank you. I think I think if you ask me what has been my biggest challenge in life is proving myself as a leader in a country which is predominantly patriarchal and very male dominated. Even today, you can count female entrepreneurs on fingertips in Pakistan. There are very little of them. Women generally don't make leadership positions. They're stuck in that middle managerial position because that is the time when they're having children, they're making their family grow. And generally, I don't think we accept female leadership as comfortably as we accept male leadership. When me and we are a female founder-driven company, so we're two female founders, and we're very headstrong, independent, strong women. So that generally also doesn't sit well with a lot of circles that we work with. But I think, Scott, a lot of it has to come with my own family. Although my parents were very traditional and I was youngest of two brothers, I think from the very beginning, they gave me this confidence that I'm no less than a man. As I entered into business, I got so many shut doors when I told people initially that we're creating a female doctor network to solve healthcare issues in Pakistan. People laughed at me. People said this is not possible.
Wow.
No one will believe telemedicine. Healthcare was very physical in Pakistan. So they thought that until a doctor checks a pulse of a patient, there is no healthcare. So many myths to fight. As we were expanding our network, people always pushed us and said that you are an NGO. Although we're a for-profit company, but that image of a female leader leading an NGO or a software image is so much easier to accept than a female entrepreneur running a tech business. So when we created a chain of clinics and me and my co-founder thought of making an app, all advisors, all mentors, all friends told us not to do it because they said that, oh my God, you do such beautiful work in the communities. Just keep doing that. Why do you need to create a tech business? Why do you want to create a commercial business out of it? So it was very difficult to make people understand that we are an impact business, where we are doing a business for social good. But I think one thing that has really worked for us is persistence.
Yeah.
And persistence. We have worked on it for the last 5 years of our life. And every day as me and my co-founder come to work, it almost feels like we fall in love with our work every day. In COVID, when COVID came in Pakistan, because Sehat Kahani app was one of the few telemedicine apps that were existing in the country, we got picked up very early by the government to be launched in primary healthcare for people in lockdowns, to be launched in ICUs across Pakistan, to connect to senior critical care specialists. It gave us a big boost. And we were the first one that they reach out to, that, okay, we need to give it to everyone in lockdown. We need to give it in ICUs. And while other people were enjoying gardening or, rediscovering their interest in life and COVID, when everything was kind of slowing down, me and my co-founder were working 20 hours a day with our team to make sure that everything is up and running. Our app is handling patients as they're coming along. We got massive flows of patients coming on the platform. So I think one way that I've learned as a female leader is, A, you need to make yourself heard. You need to be persistent. You need to know your work more than anyone else. And once you walk into that room, you have to leave that male-female gender bias outside yourself. So when I walk into a room today, and 90% of the time, I walk into a room filled with men. I walk into corporate meetings, I walk into investor meetings, I walk into government meetings, men all around. Never once I feel that I'm a woman pitching to a man. I always feel that I'm a founder, I'm here for my business. They are here to listen to me and they will respect me for the work that I do. And when you make yourself believe that, this is how the situation is, ultimately, you become that person that will make sure that their voice is heard, their story is heard, and their vision is followed. Today, my company has 40% men, majority of them more experienced than I. I have hired those men, but they're more experienced than me. They are older than me, but they all understand the vision that the company has, that two females have built, because they've seen the work that we put into, they've seen the hours of work that we put into making that possible.
Sarah, I think you said something that really resonated for me. And I just want to make sure that this is what you said. You said there are so many myths to fight. Was that the phrasing you used?
Yes.
So many myths to fight. That's just incredible. I mean, it's so beautifully said. Because whether it's some of the gender myths, some of the myths around how we can conduct healthcare. I mean, we can just go down the list. You've been battling a lot of myths, right?
It comes down to, can a female entrepreneur be a good mother? Because
yes,
I was asked by an investor once, and that investor knew me as a family friend. And he asked me straight to my face, if you had to choose between your family and your company, what would you choose? And at that moment, I could not answer, because if I had said my company, he would have gone back and told my family. And if I had said my family, he would say, oh, you're not serious about the business that you do. That's just one of many, many examples I can give you of how much and how many times you have to prove that you're good at everything in those segments of life as a female leader or as a female entrepreneur.
Sarah, would you talk about what have you done to help you as you've battled all of those myths? What is it that recharges you? Do you have mentors that have helped you? What else have you done? Because you said something else that was also wonderful. I mean, when you're walking in and you're the only female in the room and you're trying to battle all of these myths, you have to believe it. You have to put those things to the side and do the work and charge forward. I just have so much respect. How do you take care of self? And have you seen an identity shift in yourself? Do you believe more and more that you are the leader, that you can be the leader, that you are a successful leader, when maybe everything was telling you that you couldn't be that 10 years ago?
Women, and in a very traditional family in Pakistan, women are raised to be people pleasers.
Yes.
People who will always say yes to everyone, will not say no. Very hierarchical. So if an elder tells you something, you will not say no, even if you feel like saying no. And majority, until I was 25 years of age, I had this version of myself who actually believed that this is the right way of living. I think through my company, I worked very hard for it, but I think my business and the work that I do has given my personality the courage to do something which I believe in. So today, the person that I am, I will only take a decision if I believe in it. Wow. I will not care what society thinks, what norms are, what people will think around me. Because in the end, I know that I need to be comfortable in my skin. I will find people who will be comfortable with that. And it happens, when you start making decisions that suit you and not others, you face a lot of resistance. But over time, people realize that this is who you are and this is the normal, the natural you, and they start accepting it. And that happened with me. My mother always wanted to work, but she couldn't. She had to face a conservative system, but she made sure that I work.
Wow.
What I'm making sure and what motivates me is I have two daughters, and I'm doing this for the day that they don't even have to ask anyone when they do something for themselves. So I believe that if they see me making my own decisions, they will feel much more empowered in making their own decisions. And they will not waste 25 years of their life thinking if what they actually are is right or wrong. They will do it from get-go because they will see a mother doing it. And I think it's very important for the women of my generation to do that for the generation of women to come, whether they're doctors, whether they're engineers. Everyone faces this bias in Pakistan and in countries like Pakistan. So I think that's my motivation. Another thing is, I can see the impact being created right in front of my eyes.
Yes.
There's so many patients who connect every day to doctors through us. And we have treated patients with thyroid cancer being detected on a video call, years of infertility being treated by simple counseling, suicidal patients stuck in bathrooms, counseled by doctors in a mobile phone. All these stories that we hear, we see in front of us every day, makes us coming back to work because in the end, someone's life is being impacted positively through the work that we do.
Yep. So beautifully said. In the end, someone's life is being positively impacted by the work that we do. Beautiful. And that's leadership, right? That's helping others see the vision and mobilizing others to act on that vision and then feel the work that you're accomplishing and the work that you're doing, to feel the results. That only then continues to energize and excite individuals to be a part of it. I mean, I think it's such a beautiful story, Sara, on 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 or 20 levels. So thank you. Thank you for the work that you do. Now, when it comes to this topic of leadership, are there sources that you turn to that you find valuable that help you think about the work of leading, not necessarily the healthcare or building the business, the business plan, so to speak, but leading? Are there sources that have been beneficial for you?
I think when I was starting out this journey, I got the privilege to become an Acumen fellow, and they reach to something which is called the moral leadership, doing what is right and not what is easy, listening to your authentic voice. I think those are some of the lessons that have really changed my life. Because I think if as a leader, you're not true to yourself, you're not authentic to yourself, can't bring about any change. So I think I've always looked upon the mentors or the people in the ecosystem that Pakistan has, or even the world has, who have built great businesses, but have also empowered other people while building those businesses. I think it's very important to me that the team that I'm creating, even if I'm not there tomorrow, even if, God forbid, I'm not there or I change my vision in life, the work should continue. And for that, you need a team under you that believes in the same vision that you do. And I've seen how people transmit their vision into other people while they're building the business. And I think what we've tried to do, me and my co-founder, is to create such a team that feels about the work that we do as we do. So I think there's so many people who are doing amazing work in Pakistan. They might not be very famous or they might not be well known, but in their smaller circles, they're bringing about change. And those have become a source of inspiration for me.
Would you close us out with just a story that impacted you when you heard it? You thought, wow, this is pretty incredible, the work that we're doing. Is there something that comes to mind for you?
I've told this story, I think, only once or twice. Everyone, I start with the story that, I just started video consultations in a clinic, and that's how the company started, because everyone asks me that, how did it start?
Yeah.
But if I tell you an incident that actually made me think that, is this something that I want to do all my life? The moment that I fell in love with is, so I had started a company, and I had started the work, and we were making clinics all across Pakistan. And one day I traveled to northern province in Pakistan. It's called KPK. And I met someone and he said that, I'll take you to a hospital where I think that telemedicine is needed. So it was a Sunday morning, 2nd of January. We traveled there at 6 in the morning. It was -2 degrees. I was in this jacket, very big, very, very warm jacket to make myself warm. Instead, I was feeling cold. We went into a hilly area, and there's a mental hospital there. It's called the Dada Mental Hospital. And I saw that there were two wards, one male and one female, filled with patients in very terrible condition. No warm clothes, no heaters, no warm water. It was an asylum, and they did not have a doctor for the last 8 years.
Wow.
Every night, there was a dispenser who gave them sleeping pills or sleeping injections to put them to bed, because they had mental challenges. Some of them were schizophrenic. And this was the hospital where all the people from the nearby villages used to drop their patients and go back, who were in unmanageable positions. And I saw that, and I still remember, when I went there and I saw their state, and when I saw the discrepancy and the disparity of how I'm living my life and how they are living their life, I think that is the point when I realized that, these patients need these solutions to get better. And that clinic we couldn't open with money because it was in a government hospital. So I pitched in the money myself with a donor, and we opened that clinic. That clinic still runs today. We were able to then upgrade the facility with the government. We did a lot of lobbying to make sure that the patients also got warm clothes and water and food, and all their nutrition issues were worried out. But in those last 4 years, we have sent 6,000 patients back home in stable conditions.
Wow.
6,000 patients have left the hospital because of psychologists and psychiatrists that we put there in a small room in that clinic. It was a very small room that we set up. And I think that clinic is very close to my heart. That hospital is very close to my heart, because it really showed me that the power of telemedicine and how a group of people can come together and solve a big challenge. That place did not even have internet connection. So we actually called PTA, which is the Pakistan Telecommunication Authority, and I requested them to put a phone line there so that we can run the internet. And I think that to do all that, these are big things that you're doing as a very young person. You're calling PTA, you're calling the government, you're setting up clinics, you're enabling psychologists and psychiatrists from Karachi. And I think that process just gave me this vision that I can do this in maybe thousands and thousands of clinics across Pakistan. So I think that's something that has stuck with me forever.
Well, you are making a difference in the world, and you are doing that work each and every day. And I have so much respect for the work that you're doing, so much respect for the myths that you are battling.
We can do a whole other podcast on that.
We can do it. We will have you back in the future on myth busting. Well, Dr. Sara, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for the great work that you do in the world. Keep innovating, keep creating, and keep helping others. It's wonderful. It's just a wonderful story. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you for becoming a voice. I don't think a lot of people would have heard a lot about Pakistan or the entrepreneurial work that we do, but people like you really help us speak about our work to a wider audience. And I think it's so important. And it's so helpful to people like me, all the other entrepreneurs. When they listen to it, they will feel that, their work is being spoken about. So thank you for also making us heard through you.
Well, I'm excited for listeners to hear the story because it's incredible. Be well. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
One of the reasons I started this podcast is because I wanted to understand leadership better from multiple different angles. I just have such respect for anyone who is day to day doing the work. And that is this story here. An individual just like Dr. Chan, who day to day is doing the work and making our world a better place. The process of influencing others towards a common vision, mobilizing others towards a common vision. And oftentimes that involves work that pushes up against traditional norms, and it requires some myth busting. Thank you for being a myth buster, Dr. Sara. We appreciate the work that you do. Such an incredible story. As always, thank you so much for listening, everyone. Take care, be well, and I hope you enjoyed that conversation. You have just finished another episode of Practical Wisdom for Leaders with Scott Allen. To contact me, visit scottjallen.net or send me a note at scott@scottjallen.net. I'm also on LinkedIn, so let's connect. If you have feedback, I'd love to hear it. And as always, thank you so much for listening. And now here's my daughter, Emily, with the outro.
You've been listening to Phronesis, Practical Wisdom with Scott Allen.